Hi, good evening, Middle Georgia. I'm Greg Lloyd. Amanda Peralta has the night off, and thank you for watching WGXA News at 5:30. Our top stories tonight: a potential dog fight ring busted in Baldwin County. Deputies say they discovered more than a dozen malnourished and neglected dogs last Wednesday while serving an unrelated search warrant. Authorities continue to investigate to see how far-reaching the dogfighting ring could be. So far, deputies have arrested one person in that case. And the Fort Valley Police Department is welcoming a modern piece of equipment to their arsenal. Police say the new electric patrol car will help the department save money at the pump, ultimately allowing the city to use taxpayer dollars for other projects. Right now, with nowhere to charge the EV, the city is planning to install charging areas at the police department. Be sure to download the WGXA News app or go to WGXA.tv for more on today's top stories. Well, to political news tonight. It's crunch time, a make or break moment in Speaker Kevin McCarthy's efforts to win over hardline Republicans threatening to block attempts to fund the government. The Senate, however, is rolling up its sleeves toward a short-term fix to keep the funding flowing. Madeline Rivera has that story from Washington.
As the prospects of House Republicans reaching a compromise dim, the Senate is hammering out a plan to keep the government's lights on.
We'll continue to fund the government at present levels while maintaining our commitment to Ukraine's security and humanitarian needs.
Regardless, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is not committing to putting the Senate's proposal to the floor. Instead, McCarthy is trying to win over hardliners to pass a short-term funding bill that includes border security. He's blaming the president for the problem.
If he is willing to take some actions, to even sit down with us, to make some changes along that border, we can keep government open while we finish the funding.
But that package would likely be dead on arrival in the Democratic-controlled Senate. The White House is urging McCarthy to honor the agreement they made on spending levels earlier this year.
It's up to the speaker to twist in the wind. I mean, seriously, this is a deal is a deal.
If the government shuts down, paychecks will be delayed for hundreds of thousands of federal workers and law enforcement officials. Moody's says America's credit rating will also be negatively impacted. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
President Biden joining striking United Auto Workers on the picket line near Detroit today, the day before former President Trump makes a trip to the area to give a speech instead of attending the second Republican primary debate. Altra Elnashar reports on what's at stake for the candidates in this strike that has no end in sight.
A president on the picket line. President Biden calling for record contracts for the United Auto Workers from the big three automakers.
And guess what? You should be doing incredibly well, too.
His visit comes at the invitation of UAW President Shawn Fain, though the union hasn't committed yet to a second Biden-Harris endorsement in 2024. On Wednesday, former President Trump will make a speech at a non-union auto parts manufacturer in nearby Macomb County. In a Truth Social post, he claimed Biden will send jobs to China and, quote, "I will keep your jobs and make you rich." Both men trying to win over working-class voters who've gone back and forth between parties in recent elections. George Washington University's Dr. Todd Belt.
We know that Donald Trump was really able to capitalize on sentiment that the Democrats hadn't been looking out for them in the past, and that really vaulted him to the presidency in 2016. They came back to working-class Joe in 2020, but can he keep them in 2024? Considering that a lot of these people are feeling the pains of inflation, as many of us are.
Trump and Biden in complicated positions. Trump has been president before. Fain has told his members a second Trump term would be a quote-unquote disaster.
Donald Trump is saying things like he said back in 2016, that I'm going to bring back industry right here and we're going to rebuild these plants, and it didn't happen.
And Biden, as the current president, takes a political risk by choosing a side, opening himself up for blame if the strike stretches on.
He is indeed
He is standing with the auto workers. He is standing with the auto workers.
The White House also reacting to a new NBC poll showing the Republican Party has a 21-point lead when registered voters were asked which party would do a better job with the economy. It's the GOP's widest margin on that question in the poll's 32-year history.
Polls are polls, right? They are going to be all over the place.
An uphill climb for two candidates working to woo voters they've each already won once before. In Washington, I'm Altra Elnashar reporting.
7 Republican candidates for president have qualified for the next GOP debate. The Republican National Committee says Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, Chris Christie, Mike Pence, and Doug Burgum will attend Wednesday night's debate. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson did not make the cut this time, and former President Donald Trump has chosen not to participate once again. Now, this debate begins at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Voters appear to trust Republicans over Democrats to handle the economy and crime, but they trust Democrats more with health care and education. The latest NBC News poll finds 49% of voters trust the GOP on handling the economy, while 28% trust Democrats. Republicans have a 30-point lead over Democrats when it comes to handling the border and a 26-point lead on crime. Democrats have a 23-point advantage on health care, and 46% trust Democrats on the issue of abortion versus 28% who trust Republicans. Democrats have a 10-point advantage on education. All right, well, we're turning our attention to weather this evening, and we did have some clouds and some rain moving through right now parts of the mid-state. Meteorologist Ryan Stinnett joins us now. And Ryan, I understand those chances for some wet stuff in the afternoon is going to continue this week.
Absolutely. The rest of today through tomorrow as well. So if you're not seeing rain today, which a lot of us are not, odds are you may see some tomorrow. Now, the radar, it certainly is active, but it's mainly just regular rainfall, not much in the way of lightning showing up, so maybe a few rumbles of thunder. But again, some of our heavier rainfall north and east of Macon up towards, say, Putnam County south of Eatonton. Elsewhere, heavier rainfall, Lawrence County making its way back into Wilkinson County. Johnson County and Treutlen County has been getting some heavy rainfall today. And then again, what you see is what you get. Rain here or there, the cloud cover and rain keeping temperatures down, lower 70s versus lower 80s. The rest of the evening, it's going to be cloudy for many of us. Temperatures will be falling into the 60s. Rain chances remain high tomorrow. I'll show you that in Maine weather.
All right, thank you, Ryan. It is a great time to download the WGXA weather app if you don't have it. It's a great tool. You just scan the QR code on your screen. Keeps you up to date with all the changing weather. Ryan is back in less than 20 minutes with your 10-day forecast. To the crisis at the border, the U.S. is grappling with another surge of migrants at the southern border as critics say the Biden administration isn't getting Mexico to do enough to secure its side of the border.
The key. You have to cut off the flow. You can't simply continue to react to the flow. And that's why I say right now, when you're just talking about ramping up some degree of interior enforcement, it's all smoke and mirrors. Until they cut off the flow, this isn't going to make a difference.
Mexico says it will start deporting migrants from its border cities to their home countries and depressurize its northern cities. Former Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Mark Morgan says that's not cutting off the flow. He argues the Trump White House came from a position of strength and leveraged it to get Mexico to cut off the flow of migrants. Democrats argue Trump's enforcement was inhumane and Congress needs to act to fix it.
The Biden administration is doing all that it can in that they inherited a broken system that needs to be fixed moving forward.
Now, nearly 17,000 migrants were apprehended over the weekend, according to Customs and Border Protection. Well, some cities are taking action to address temporary migrant housing as the cold weather approaches. Dee Dee Gatton joins us now to explain efforts underway and how some say actions could compound already strained systems. Dee Dee?
There's an intersection of different issues. Experts tell me we are seeing states that have greater shelter infrastructure for issues related to homelessness, now faced with another challenge, capacity issues related to the migrant crisis.
I think this is unprecedented in some ways.
Chicago officials signed a nearly $30 million contract with a private security firm to relocate migrants to winterized camps with massive tents before cold weather arrives. Many of those migrants have been living temporarily inside police stations and the city's airports. Dr. Charlie Willison, assistant professor of public and ecosystem health at Cornell University, says nationwide the challenge is the migrant crisis is leaning on homeless services in cities that have that capacity.
It's important to think about how cities are making these trade-offs and are still working to protect human rights.
Friday, U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced more than 232,000 total encounters along the southwest border in August. Last year in particular, we saw scenes like this, from migrants arriving in D.C. to Texas, enduring the cold because shelters were full.
About giving, and welcoming the stranger and, giving food and drink.
In December, the Department of Homeland Security warned migrants not to come to the border with the severe weather. But as another winter approaches, the challenge remains.
As cities are trying to mitigate the homelessness crisis, there will have to be short-term trade-offs made to deal with housing insecurity among migrant populations at the same time.
Migrant crossings along the southern border are rising. A Department of Homeland Security official said there were more than 8,000 apprehensions last Monday. Reporting for the National Desk, I'm Dee Dee Gatton.
Tonight, there are growing signs the effort to help Ukraine defend itself from Russia is losing support. A poll from last month found 55% of those surveyed said the U.S. Congress should not authorize additional funding to support Ukraine versus 45% who said they should. Our Christine Frizzell brings us a look at where some of the funding has been going and new warnings about what cutting off the aid could mean.
Well into its second year, the war in Ukraine rages on. Thousands of miles away in Washington, the battle about that war and how much and whether to support it carries on as well. Just since Russia's invasion in February of last year, the U.S. has contributed nearly $44 billion in military aid. And now, new revelations on CBS's 60 Minutes that U.S. tax dollars are funding seed and fertilizer for Ukrainian farmers and covering the salaries of first responders there.
Russia's invasion shrank Ukraine's economy by about a third. We were surprised to find that to keep it afloat, the U.S. government is subsidizing small businesses.
Why does that help Ukraine win the war? Because economy is the foundation of everything.
Critics argue the U.S. economy and its small businesses could use the help.
Right now, those businesses are suffering under inflation, high gas prices, and they don't have any access to credit because of the rapid rise of interest rates. And the president needs to focus on our small business owners here at home.
Others pointing to the need for more assistance at the southern border in the midst of a massive surge of migrants as the country braces for a likely government shutdown.
If there's a shutdown, U.S. government workers will not be paid, but Ukrainian workers will be paid by the U.S. taxpayer. There's nothing in the Constitution that allows for spending like this to another country.
Senator Rand Paul vowing to prevent future aid as others warn of the consequences.
Without aid, Ukraine could run the very strong risk of being defeated.
American support for Ukraine is not charity.
With recent polls showing waning support for U.S. aid to Ukraine, the issue is playing an outsized role in negotiations over a spending bill and could be a key factor if the government does shut down. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell.
Well, if you love playing Name That Tune, chances are you'll love seeing the Celebrity Edition. We'll preview the fun you'll find only tonight right here on Fox 24 next. Well, sports stars show off their guessing game skills on a new round of Celebrity Name That Tune tonight on Fox, including Olympic figure skater Adam Rippon, who joined us to talk about joining the show, playing for charity, and studying up on his music at home to prepare for the competition. Here's Ashley Dvorkin.
Olympic figure skater Adam Rippon was named the brightest star in the galaxy on Stars on Mars. And now he's showing off his game show skills on Celebrity Name That Tune.
Adam. Jealous?
Tell me about the charity that you're playing for and why it's so close to your heart.
The charity that I played for is called Pups Without Borders, and they are a dog rescue here in Los Angeles, which I love. My husband and I adopted a dog almost 2 years ago. His name's Tony, and we adopted Tony from Pups Without Borders, and I just love them. They do such great work.
He shared how he practiced at home for the show.
Okay, the hardest part about Name That Tune isn't knowing what the song is, it's knowing exactly what the title of the song is. So what I did was, this was a flawless strategy. I went online, I found a playlist of random party songs. And I would go through and I would practice naming the title.
In addition to his TV time, Rippon is also busy with his 2 podcasts.
The first one's called Normalize This, and it's where we talk about different social topics and whether we should normalize them or not. And I do it with an amazing friend of mine, amazing person. Her name's Danielle Young. The other podcast I do is called The Run Through. And really, this is an excuse for me and one of my best friends from figure skating to just talk about figure skating. I can name that tune in 7 notes.
Celebrity Name That Tune airs Tuesdays on Fox. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
A 2-time Emmy-winning writer and actor and comedian is coming to Macon soon, and it's time to get your tickets this week. Best known for his work on Saturday Night Live, his multiple stand-up specials on Netflix, and his role as Andrew in Netflix's Big Mouth, John Mulvaney is bringing the laughs to Middle Georgia at the Macon City Auditorium this November. Tickets for the November 18th show go on sale this Friday on Ticketmaster or at the Macon Coliseum box office. It's a show you don't want to miss.
Don't want to miss these cooler temperatures across Middle Georgia either this evening. Temperature only 77 degrees as we look over in Dublin. It's raining over in Lawrence County on our Wilson Bryant Heating and Air Skycast network. Again, nothing especially heavy, but that cloud cover keeping those temperatures down, and the roads are wet across much of Lawrence County. Again, that's where we are seeing some of that heavier rainfall north of Dublin, making its way up into Wilkinson County. Got heavier rainfall from Putnam County over into Hancock County, stretching back down towards Crawford as well as Taylor County. We'll be watching that. Again, if you're seeing the rainfall, it is a nice thing. We've been relatively dry as of late, and still some light rain down towards Americus as well as Plains and Montezuma. Cloudy scattered rain in the forecast for our Wednesday as well, but as we get closer to the weekend, all that matters, the weekend going to be fantastic with lots of sunshine, comfortable conditions. Of course, we got to keep an eye on the tropics. Hurricane season doesn't officially end until the end of November. October, a lot of times, has us another little peak in it. We'll keep an eye on it. There's Philippe right now. Behind it will likely become Rena. That is the next name up on the list as we continue through this active season. But that's it. Just those 2 things we are keeping an eye on. Again, Philippe is the 16th named storm of the season. We'll likely have Rena, followed by Sean, Tammy, Vince, and Whitney would round out the list for 2023. Latest on Philippe, not an organized system. Doesn't look impressive on radar. The actual center of circulation is well displaced from the thunderstorms. It's kind of weakening, and we are expecting it to fall apart over the next several days, but it is just something to keep an eye on. Maybe you have a trip down towards the Lesser Antilles. Could have some rough surf. Well, we're dealing with in Middle Georgia, this stalled out frontal boundary, and that's been the focal point for that widespread rain and thunderstorm activity today. More of the same tomorrow, but as we head towards Thursday into Friday, drier air starts to win the battle, and that front will kind of dissipate and wash out, and it'll go away, and that'll set the stage for that beautiful weather this weekend. But again, Wednesday, widespread rain at times possible, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, but then we are high and dry well into next week. kind of what you expect for early October across middle Georgia. Again, hour by hour forecast, a few showers this evening. Those wind down tomorrow morning. Likely to start off a little wet in locations. Again, tomorrow will be the day when most of us will see some rain, but not everywhere. And again, we'll keep the rain gear close tomorrow. As we look at that forecast for Macon with the clouds and rainfall, highs tomorrow only in the 80s. As we look at that 10-day forecast, a lot of locations will likely hold in the 70s tomorrow, but then again, sunshine will return on Thursday. The weekend looked stunning for the final day of September, rolling into October. Low 80s, overnight lows, upper 50s and low 60s. Finally, your Harris's Body Shop fishing game forecast peaks at 12:40 a.m. and again at 7 p.m.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gary Thigpen. I'm here again today at All About Animals Rescue in Macon Bibb. I'm joined again today by Lisa and also Nicole. And guess who we're going to tell you about today?
We have a dog named Bird.
Bird. I wonder why he is named Bird.
I don't know.
Is it because he's a bird dog?
It could be. It could be. So he's sure part bird dog. Now he's one of our senior dogs here. He's about 5 years old. Very, very sweet. Walks very well on a leash. Sits, but his story's sad.
Oh.
He was at a high kill shelter. They were fixing to euthanize him, and
no.
All About Animals Rescue saved his life. So we are waiting on that perfect person to come along and give Bird a chance and give him a forever home.
Exactly. So you heard he was about to be euthanized, and he was saved by the All About Animals Rescue here. So don't let his story end tragically. Let's find Bird a really, really good home. If you want a dog that's just a little bit older, 5 years old, how would they go about adopting him?
Please send us a message on Facebook, All About Animals Rescue. Let us know you saw Bird on TV, and we will be glad to set up a meet and greet.
All right, let's go ahead and do that today. Let's find Bird a really good home, and they also have many other dogs here. So if you're out there in middle Georgia, you want a forever pet, this is the place to come. And let's go ahead and talk and find them a good home. Thank you so much, Nicole and Lisa.
Thank you.
A question for you. Why did the chicken cross the road?
I've always heard it's to show the possum it could be done.
Well, maybe it was to run from the cops, because body cam video from Jonesboro, Arkansas, about an hour from Memphis, shows Officer Nathan Swindle chasing down a chicken after a resident's complaint about the bird. He's a new Academy grad, so this is his training officer that you might see with him in some of the photos. The police department says the officers returned the chicken to its home safely. On the video, Swindle jokes that this was his first foot chase, or is it his first claw chase?
Look at that.
That's something
I think
else.
they were just hazing him a little bit.
Do you really? I think that it just
Initiating.
happened to be this way, and this is his first,
Yeah.
call out
They're
for
gonna make
a chase.
the
He'll
new
never
guy
forget
do it.
But it's amazing the things that our officers have to do sometimes, because I know that one time back where I lived in South Georgia on my parents' farm, a neighbor in the middle of the night, he didn't take care of his fence, and his bull got loose.
Cows get
and
loose.
it had torn loose, and it was up our driveway and in the yard and like destroying stuff. And so we were fed up, so we called the police. And my dad said, don't approach him too quickly now, because he'll get mad. But he didn't listen to Dad, and the bull put the police officer back in the car, because you got to respect those bulls sometimes.
Yeah, as a child, I got bucked by a bull myself, busted my
Oh, you
lip.
did? Oh my goodness, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
Nah, I was
hate to
two.
hear
It was
that. You
fine.
too? Well, that's still awful, though. I'm glad
Yeah.
you made it all right.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's going to do it for WGXA News at 5:30. We invite you to join us at 6 on ABC 16.
Have a great evening, Middle Georgia. We'll see you later.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1.